All right. Hi, I'm Rob Carson, host of the Blue Team Warrior podcast. And today I have Mr. James Gorman. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Hey,
Pleasure
so three questions, super easy. Let's start off with number one. Tell me about yourself and what do you do?
So I'm a U.S. Navy veteran located outside of Washington, D.C., and I offer VCISO or Virtual Chief Information Security Office programs for small to medium enterprises. I have three different types. I have the virtual CISO as a service. I have deep dive when you need to get out of a situation or get into a situation. And I also have break glass in case of emergency services. So
Awesome.
when I say get in and get out, I mean, we build we build a security program. We maintain an IR policy for you. We talk to your board. We coach you through the different processes you need to be to make sure that you're setting yourself up to be hard to hack.
Very cool. Very cool. So tell us a cool story.
So I have two that I wanted to talk about today.
Okay.
The first one is a CEO of a financial services company was driving. I was driving down the road and I got a call about this guy because he had lost his username and password in a breach of a major retailer's about 6 months prior to this call. And he noticed that he had started to lose businesses that he'd been winning for 15 to 20 years. So customers he had for 15 to 20 years. And he's located outside of DC. And if you can think about the kind of people who he would have as his clients are in the DC area and the companies in the DC area. So they're kind of sensitive.
Yeah.
And some of them are high dollar. And so he started losing business consistently to one particular company, and he couldn't figure out why. And then he started thinking about what had happened. And then so he called a buddy of mine, and that buddy called me, and we figured out that his email was being read, and so was his CRM. So we've asked him, have you ever been hacked before? And he said, yeah, I got a notice and I got, LifeLock and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, but did you go change all your emails? No. Did you go change your passwords? No. The good news is for him, the only place that they weren't able to get to were his bank account and trading accounts, because those places required multi-factor authentication. And that protected him in this case. But where he didn't use it, even though it was available, somebody was able to read his emails, read his proposals going out to his customers, and undercut him.
Wow.
That just shows, use good passwords, put multi-factor everywhere you possibly can, and then have a good hygiene requirement so that if you get notified that you're compromised, you change all your passwords. I personally prefer using a password manager so that you don't have to remember 1,000 different 17-character long passwords, but you got to go change your passwords. The second one I wanted to point out is one where a CEO of a startup SaaS company, he called me and kind of in a panic. He's like, I've been hacked. And I'm like, well, hold on. What do you mean you were hacked? And he said, well, I have all this unusual activity going on. And I said, okay, let's take a step back. Let's look at your logs. Let's find out what's going on. So we found out that his systems hadn't been compromised. There was no compromise to a system. But what had happened was they didn't test their APIs. They only did happy path testing on their APIs. So when he launched his service, somebody found out that he could get an auth-only transaction all the way through to his credit card processor. So they started using his API to go through literally thousands of stolen credit cards to see if they're still valid. And because he didn't, his brilliant 26-year-old guy who's building this for him, he's literally brilliant, but he is only 26 years old. He didn't think to test the unhappy path. He was able to get an auth through the system. Yay! Oh, but it didn't work because he was able to get thousands of auths through the system in a short period of time. So we were able to fix that. And then the other thing, because again, they didn't test the happy path, he does another type of transaction on his platform that somebody was able to do and abuse for literally thousands of transactions before we caught it. And the only reason they caught it was because it was early on in the process and it wasn't lost in the noise. If they were doing what they had expected to do, this type of transaction would have been lost in all the noise. But if you put proper logging in place, you'll be able to correct that. And you say to your brilliant 26-year program, how can somebody use this to take advantage of us?
That's awesome. Well, hey, at least it got caught, right?
At least we got caught, and at least we were able to come back and take a step back and then put into place secure coding guidelines and secure testing guidelines, and building it from the start of from a place of security. And it was already there because the systems hadn't been compromised. It was just being used in a way that the developer hadn't thought it, or I shouldn't say being used, it was being abused in a way that the developers never thought that it might be.
Awesome. Well, that's that people and process thing. It gets you every time.
More times than not. I mean, you look at all the recent major hacks, and it's like social engineering, phishing.
Going
What do you do?
It's hard. There's way easier ways these days.
Yeah.
Well, we got a few minutes left. You want to give a shout out to anybody? Anybody want to thank?
Well, I do. I like to give a shout out to my son. My son. I like I said, when I say brilliant 26-year-old, I'm talking about my son's not a programmer. He's an advanced threat guy, but he worked for a large corporation. He's worked on some pretty cool, large, well-known hacks, and the ability that these kids have, that they're so smart, they're so sharp, and they think so fast. I want to give a shout out. I kind of took out the 26-year-old programmer, but there are brilliant 26-year-olds out there that are way smarter than me and way better than I will ever be at doing what they're doing. I want to give a shout out to all the kids who are out there on the front lines in cyber and doing it.
Absolutely. No, that sounds great. And those guys are the ones that are doing good work. Well, cool. Well, that ends it for today. Thank you all, and see you for the next episode.
Thank you very much.